Alrighty, we have just taken our first look at Salisbury, created a tactic, instructed the team on how we would like them to play, made a few transfers, and played our first 3 games to gauge how big the job ahead of us is. So, let's get into it. The first thing we notice is that the finances aren't in a great place. The club are sitting around 200 grand in debt, and with no transfer budget to work with, we will mostly be looking at loans and free transfers for improvements. But after many failed attempts at previous clubs, we finally managed to convince the board to send us to work on our National C licence. It's only the first step, but it's an important one if we want to keep progressing as a manager. We decided to set up in a 4-3-3 formation with a holding midfielder, which should give us a solid base defensively while still allowing enough chances to keep us being a threat up front. In possession, we're going to focus on moving the ball quickly with shorter passing and a higher tempo, looking to work the ball into better areas rather than forcing long shots of low quality. And defensively, we're trying to keep things fairly structured with a mid-block and a slightly deeper defensive line, aiming to stay compact and make it difficult for teams to play through us. With very little money to work with, the first addition to the squad comes in form of a loan, as Jason Adigan joins us from Chelmsford to add some quality in midfield. We also bring in Jaden Celestine Charles on a free transfer, giving us another option in the attack and a bit more depth going forward. Our first game in charge came against title-chasing Dover, which was always going to be a tough introduction to life at Salisbury. After a fairly solid first half from us, Dover eventually managed to break the deadlock and take the lead. And from there, things start to unravel a little, as Dover quickly double their advantage. Before adding a third and putting the result properly beyond doubt. We do manage a consolation goal with the last kick of the ball, but the result remains 3-1 to Dover and a loss in our first game. Next up, our first home game in charge as we welcome Carshalton to Salisbury. And with the game looking like it might finish goalless, we finally break through late on and take the lead in the 85th minute. But right at the end, when we're begging for a whistle to blow, we give away a stupid penalty, and of course Carshalton make no mistake from the spot. So it finishes 1-1, and what looked like it might have been our first win in charge ends in a very frustrating draw, but hey, our first point on the board. Next up, we travel away to Chesham, looking to build on the point we picked up in the previous game. But from a first whistle, it felt like we never really believed we could win this one, and Chesham eventually take the lead. And in the second half, things get even worse, as our keeper comes rushing out to deal with a long ball, gets there ahead of a striker, but completely misses it, leaving Chesham with a simple finish for their second. So, it finishes 2-0 to Chesham, in a game where we never really got going, and clearly still have a lot to work on. So, after our first 3 games in charge, we've had a chance to properly gauge the job ahead of us. And now, the real rebuild can begin. Thank you for watching, and if you would like to follow the story, make sure to subscribe.